Okay, amazing. Good afternoon, everyone. TGI, it's Friday, and welcome back to another session with Fumi and IK. It's lovely to have you guys with us week on week. If you had any technical problem prior to joining, we want to apologize. We did have some technical issues on our back end, but we're glad to have you on here nonetheless. So you are welcome. Welcome to Knowledge Sharing Arena with Fumi and IK. As many of you may have received, you got a message saying we've got a surprise for you. Actually, we've got surprises for you today. And so you've got to definitely stay tuned. You've got to stay on as we unveil the surprise so you don't miss it. But thank you so much once again for joining us. However, the first surprise will be unveiled in less than 3 seconds. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Yay!
I know, people.
Yep. So last week, IK wasn't here with us because she was airborne. She had to fly from one country, or in fact, be rescued from one country to another. Yeah. But it's lovely to have IK back home, and we are excited. Today's going to be really, really fun. IK, what do you want to say?
Well, yeah, I'm okay. I'm excited to be here. So thank you, guys. And of course, yes, last week, I've been in Nigeria for like 10 weeks. I went to Nigeria in March for my sister's wedding, and we got stuck, with the lockdown and all. So I was there for like 10 weeks, and we got rescued last week. So of course, Friday, I was flying back, and Fumi had to host alone. Yes. So, but I'm here today, and we are like, let's do something together. Let people see us together. It'll be really cool.
Yes, and so it's so amazing. It's so amazing to be right here in the flesh. We've been doing it virtually for the past 8 weeks. Virtually, really. Yeah. So it's so nice to have her. And yeah, so today is set to be an amazing time. Like we said, we've got surprises for you. But most importantly, our style of delivery is going to be slightly different today because it's going to be very much conversational sort of way, or as opposed to just presenting. So we will be presenting, but presenting in a very much of a discussional method. So, Ike, do you want to tell us what the rules are or the agreements are? Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if we have the rules up, but of course we use the chat. Do we have the rules up?
No, we don't. Okay, so it's all in our heads, and we're going to have to just share it with them.
So, we keep everyone mute just so that there's so that it's organized, so that we can have a seamless session. And then, of course, we use the chat button, the chat section. We use that for comments only. So if you have any comments, any feedback, anything you want to share, please use the chat option. And then, of course, if you've got questions, use the Q&A. And why we say this is because sometimes it gets really, 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 stressful trying to handle so many things. So when it comes to the Q&A section, we are only going to look at the Q&A. So please make sure your questions go there. We've got people who tell us, oh, you didn't answer my question, or you ignored my question. And I'm thinking, we didn't see it, So please, please, please use the Q&A for your questions. And of course, we always say, keep your information secure. We don't want you posting personal details, personal information. It's a safe space. We try to make it safe for everyone, but at the same time, we still have people who might break the rules, So please do not share your details, And somebody says we are breaking. We're breaking. We've been tested. We are negative, so we are fine.
And we're family. We are a family. So that was good.
I know.
Actually, did we think about that?
I actually thought about it, but I was like, nah. But we're good. We're good. We don't break the rules.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're good.
So, thank you very much once again, guys, for joining us. Again, we want to apologize for those who had technical issues joining us. We apologize. We had a bit of an issue on the back end. Today, like I said, is about just discussion. So we want you guys to use the comment section if you've got comments, because we want it to be interactive. So we're going to be asking you for your experiences, your views, so it's a different style that we're taking today, unlike other weeks. So I'm just going to share our screen at this point. Okay. Let's see, share. There you go. So for many of us who got our flyers, today is all about health and safety 101 post-lockdown, because we know things are definitely different moving forward, isn't it? Post-lockdown, we can't do the things that we were doing before. Things have to be done differently. So we need to understand the fundamentals. We need to understand the basics as we move forward. So not like before. Hence why we've said we're here to learn, unlearn, and then of course relearn, so we can be better prepared, you know, as we you know, move forward. So let's move on very quickly. Right, so we've got it here, health and safety pre-COVID-19. And as you know, health and safety pre-COVID-19, we had ways of working. We had ways of processes that we had that perhaps may not be applicable in this times that we're in. So today we're just gonna kind of bounce ideas across, you know, myself and IK, but we need you guys to definitely to be informed and involved as well, if you don't mind. So please definitely use the comment section. So IK, we're talking about what we learned. So what did we learn? You know, obviously pre-COVID, what would you say that the things that we learned? Of course, we've got the first bullet point, which is health and safety was solely owned by HSE officer. Yeah. What's your take? What's your view?
Well, for me, that has been my experience, at least in previous jobs, you know, so not just as an employer, but as an employee. So in previous jobs that I've been in, it was really just the health and safety person. Everything that went wrong was health and safety. Even sometimes, for example, I remember one of my jobs, we did DSC assessments at least that week where people started their first week. We did DSC assessments, make sure that they were okay with their workstations and things like that. You would have people come in with back pain and wrists, and you tell them, oh, you need to call your doctor. They think, why don't you just perform this magic? You know? So they think it's magic. They think this health and safety officer can perform magic. They think everything is really the health and safety officer. You know, and then sometimes because the truth is, with health and safety, we all say it's everyone's responsibility. That's something we know. But that is never really the case. It's something we say, but in reality, it's never the case. So you see that you are doing things alone. You don't get the support of other people. It's really just you. Anything that goes wrong is you. Anything that needs to be done is the health and safety person, without support from the right, you know, the right people or even the right departments.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely, you know, share in that experience as well. For those who have just joined us, we are talking about health and safety 101 post-lockdown. Okay, so not post-COVID, because I feel like a lot of people use those terms wrongly. COVID is very much around, still around, and will be around until perhaps we find a vaccine or some treatment and cure for it. So we're talking about post-lockdown. However, this particular slide, before we start talking about post-lockdown, is pre-lockdown. What are the things, you know, the historic expectation or experiences that we've had as health and safety officers, okay? So the first point we're touching on, just like Ike has really said, is health and safety has solely been the responsibility of health and safety officers pre-COVID, right? Same with mine as well. You see a lot of people in the workplace, there's hazards that they can see, there are things that they know that it's wrong, and guess what? They say, oh, that, you know, just tell the health and safety officer. So we know that that narrative needs to change, particularly post-lockdown. The narrative needs to change. It's everybody's responsibility, and they see us as implementers. These guys, they just go and implement, you know? They don't call us into maybe meetings where they're drafting policies, procedures, or what have you. Just go and do it, you know? And so we need to, those are the things that we have learned, of course, and we are going to move on to what we need to unlearn, okay, in this course of the hour, and then, of course, gradually to relearning new things and new ways of doing things. So, it's always been known, actually, in health and safety, that responsibility can be delegated, right? But accountability cannot. What's your take on that?
Well, for me, I think probably that will still be slightly a bit relevant, because somebody needs to be responsible for it all. But at the same time, we also need to be accountable. Everybody needs to be accountable. It's no longer just the CEO. It's no longer just the health and safety manager. Everybody needs to be accountable. You know, because at the end of the day, safety, looking at COVID-19 right now, everybody wants to be alive. Everybody wants to be safe. People are not really thinking of profit or, you know, my business and all that. They are thinking of life first. So at the end of the day, safety is now their own responsibility.
Absolutely.
And for me, I've always been firm. In my workplace, I'm so firm. You would think I'm like their mom. I'm so firm. And I tell them, we put in place all these measures. We've done risk assessment. We've done methods of work and things like that. But the truth is, for us to implement, it's you. It's your responsibility. You have the main responsibility to make sure that you're safe. You have to intentionally be working safely. And, you know, and that's something that we need to be pushing across. It's no longer just the health and safety manager. You get hurt, it's no longer our fault.
Absolutely.
It's you. So
Absolutely.
we need to build that culture in our workplaces where people know that they are responsible also for their own safety.
Absolutely. I like those key operative words, you're responsible, you are responsible for your own safety, and you are accountable as well, not just to yourself, but to other people as well, to ensure your safety and the safety of those that you work with or those that are in, contact with your operations. And that leads nicely to the way they've always seen us with PPE. When we're talking about PPE in the workplace, I tell you what, when they see me coming, that's when they start pulling up the high vis, doing all manner of because they see us, PPE has always been a pain in the neck.
Yes.
But what do you think in terms of moving forward now? How do you...
they desire it, Right now, it's like a desire. We don't have enough. But before, you didn't want it.
Ooh.
Before, it was not convenient. Oh, my hands get sweaty. Ooh. Oh, I can't breathe well. But right now, it's something that is highly desired.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, a lot of them are probably not done risk assessments because you see them wearing up and you're thinking, do you really need to go that far?
Absolutely.
But right now, it's now more desired than it used to be.
Definitely. And of course, people cut corners as well. Even with these PPE, when they're meant to wear gloves, they don't wear gloves, they cut corners, even with GP surgeries, all manner of things that you see, so it's important. And I think the narrative again on that is going to change. We've heard so much noise about trying to buy PPE. The frontline workers have made such a big fuss about it, where before, I'm sure they had it there and they never really kind of took attention to it. Do you see what I mean? So these are things that we've learned, honestly, that we've had PPE there that we should use for our protective, to protect ourselves, but nobody actually took it seriously then. But it took, COVID? To wake us up, to adapt and all. So we're going to be seeing how things need to definitely change and how we can play our part in changing the narrative. People have also said, HSC is just a tick box exercise. What do you say? Any experience?
Yes. I know the funny thing is, I think people think that all these are unique to maybe Nigeria or the developing world, but the truth is it happens here in the UK. Even here in the UK, you see people that just, let's just get it over with. Okay, have we done that? So they're not really doing it because it's necessary or because it's a moral requirement. They're doing it because, you know what, it's legal. Let's make sure we have all these things in place. Even if they are not effective, even if they're not fit for purpose, most people just do it. Let us just have it. When they come inspect or when they ask for stuff, we have this document to prove. But the document you're talking about, is it a living document? Or is it just something you stack up in a file somewhere? So it has always been, let's just get it out of the way so we are legally okay. So
it's a compliance thing. Let's just comply. Not that really we understand why we're doing it. We appreciate why we're doing it. It's just, let's just comply. So again, we're going to be seeing how we need to move beyond just it being a compliance to a culture sort of a thing, Keeping records is another thing. So keeping records accessible must be storing of paper. I have seen, and this is going as high up to director level, they have stack and rim of papers because you know what? It does say that we need to keep records. We need to make sure those records are always accessible as well. But we will learn. I'm sure the narrative on all, obviously, keeping records and storing records, we're going to see how we need to unlearn what we've been doing. As you can see in the images here, you can see all rims of paper, how we need to move away from that, apart from it just being a fire hazard, to be honest. There are other ways and things that we need to do in that regard. So these are just a few things that we as health and safety officers have learned, over the years pre-COVID. And so we're going to try and move on nicely now to what we need to, health and safety during lockdown. Okay, during lockdown. So when COVID came around, it hit like a bomb. Boom. Okay, so the decision makers, employers, even health and safety professionals, it came as a shock. How do we adapt to this? What do we need to do? What are the what were the practices during that period? So
I think when COVID came, I think it was very challenging because I had just started a new job. I started in February. I started a new job in February, and that's when we began to hear about COVID. So it was a really difficult time for me. And I used to just say, this is the worst time to be a safety officer or a safety manager or a safety anything. Because the truth is, the workplace, they relied on you heavily that period. You had to keep them safe. In fact, they thought we had a cure. They thought, this health and safety people, you guys must have a cure for this thing. You guys must know what to do.
After all, your health and safety, we've been paying you for so many years.
Exactly. So it was really, really challenging. And of course, we had to just find ways to work. I had to personally be calling Public Health England myself. I had to be making calls direct just to get reliable information. Because the truth is, when you're giving information, it has to be real, it has to be factual, it has to be reliable. You know, and one thing I always say is that we have to be careful about the language and the words that we've got. People will pick them as they are and just take them. You know, so I had to make sure that I was getting real information. It was a challenge. That's just the truth. And I have to just find ways to work around that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So essentially what we're saying now is during COVID or during lockdown, there were unconventional ways of working. And so, you know, you've heard IK look at unconventional ways of working. We as a company, my company had to look at different ways of working as well. We had to migrate we had to start thinking outside of the box. We were always client facing. You know, we are a consulting firm, health and safety consulting firm. So we deliver trainings to people, we consult for clients, and how can we do all of this now with COVID around? How do we adapt to these new workings? So it required us obviously to start revising some of our policies as an organization and even procedures. Okay, so during lockdown, I'm sure a lot of organizations, I hope actually, a lot of organizations would have had to go back to revising some of their policies and procedures, because what we were doing then prior to COVID, we can't, obviously those policies cannot, they will become obsolete. It can't be effective, you know. And so it's about going back to the drawing board, and this time around, you know, involving the health and safety people.
We became important. We were not number one. I'm like, yes, we're number one now.
You see how, I mean, I was watching something, guys, by the way, if you're watching, this is a different style that we're doing today. It's not the strictly presentation that we would normally do. So I think it's important to send out that disclaimer again. This is a very conversational presentation mode that we're using today, just sharing our experiences. And we want you guys to share yours too, actually. So if you have any experience that you'd like to put in the comment section, we're happy to read it out. We're here to really all together learn, unlearn and relearn. And the only way we can do that is when iron sharpens iron. So if you've got any experience that you want to share, please put it in the box so that we can read it out and learn from yours too. But like I was saying before the disclaimer, I was watching something on the TV the other day, and they had you know, 3 women on the front cover of Vogue. And obviously Vogue, you naturally have celebrities on the front cover of Vogue, or even in Vogue, let alone on the front cover. And this time around they had a Waitrose assistant, they had a midwife, and they had I think a consultant, a doctor or something else. And obviously in the bid to celebrate the frontline workers, or key workers, so to say. And so the lady, one of the girls, the Waitrose worker, she said, I'm just a common shelf stacker. And all of a sudden now, I'm a key worker. So health and safety guys, we are key workers. We are. So if you are a health and safety professional, I want you to celebrate yourself, because in these times, we play a key part, you know, and we did play a key part even during the lockdown as well. So please share your lockdown experience whilst we were on lockdown before restrictions were lifted. And if you are still in the country where your lockdown is still very much in effect, please share your experiences, what you're going through at the moment. But going back to, I mean, some of the things that we had to do was revise policies, procedures, because we knew that we couldn't carry on with old ways. I mean, Ike, do you have any, in terms of like policies and procedures, any experience?
We had to create like almost fresh, because at the end of the day, when you're creating these policies and procedures, they are unique to your needs and the challenges and the problems that you have in your organization. For us, it's a hospitality. I work in the hospitality sector. You come in contact with clients and guests constantly, you know, so of course we had to review all our processes, write new guidance for, you know, working during COVID-19, you know, and then of course, because I was in Nigeria and I'm the health and safety person, I had to do a lot of things by digital technology, recording screens, explaining how things should be done, recorded my screen, sent it over, you know, because I wasn't there physically, you know, so I had to find ways around, you know, and for me, I always say that there's no problem without a solution. I believe that if you think hard, or if you search hard enough, that you will find a solution. So I had to find a way to keep working with these people. I'm not going to say, oh, because I'm stuck in Nigeria, I'm not going to be able to help my teams or help my people, you know, so I had to. And luckily, I took my work laptop with me, so it was easy to just continue working and recording screens and explaining and really just providing support from afar. You know, so technology really helped in a big way.
You're letting the cat out of the bag. You're speaking too soon.
Well, I'm just telling you what helped.
The cat out of the bag, because we are going to be talking about what to look forward to post-lockdown and what health and safety post-lockdown, how it can be more effective. Okay, so old ways of reporting and recording. IKN views on that, because I know that the ways that we've reported incidents or data and stuff like that would also need to change. What sort of information we're reporting and recording as well would need to change. I mean, I'll give an example. We run my firm in different parts of the world, but looking at Nigeria, for example, where even generally reporting, we don't have a very structured reporting system, as it were, you know, in place. Over here in the UK, you've got the HSE executive that you know that these are the responsible bodies that you need to report to. I mean, there is in Nigeria, it's called NSITF, however, but in terms of like state level, how do we report? What are we reporting, you know, and how are we reporting and recording these things as well? These are things that we had to look at during the lockdown. So for our guys in Nigeria, we had to take, you know, put into consideration working alongside with regulatory bodies such as Lagos State Safety Commission. We have any issues now, we know where to signpost to. So the question is, do you guys know? So please, it is meant to be interactive. Feel free to drop in the comment section. Feel free to drop in the Q&A. Your experiences is so important, because honestly, Ike and I, we don't know it all. We don't. Do you know it all?
We're just speaking from experience.
Exactly.
Just sharing our experiences.
Exactly. So we don't know it all. So we are encouraging you guys to please put in the comment section your experiences, you know, how you've dealt with things pre-COVID, you know, during lockdown, which is what we're doing. How are you guys recording and reporting at the moment or during the lockdown? Do you see what I mean? And of course, those are going to have to change, which we're going to look at in the next slide. And of course, old ways of communicating. You know, communication. Do you have anything to say on that, IK?
Well, I will give an example. And, you know, with this period, it's very important for us to, as safety professionals, it's very important for us to stay, you know, updated. We have to get the most relevant and the most important and the most recent information. And for me, like what I did was I signed up with, I've always been signed up anyway, gov.uk, HSE here and all that, because those are the ones that will give you the latest guidelines, the latest policies and things like that. And if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have found out that there was something new under Relearn. So Relearn is the reporting of injuries, deaths, and dangerous occurrences in the workplace, you know. And of course, so there are some injuries that happen at work, or maybe something falls, maybe an explosion or something, even if nobody gets hurt, you have to report. So if I wasn't keeping in touch and keeping myself updated, I would have missed that. Because one of the things Relearn said during COVID-19 was that anybody that contracts COVID-19 while at work, you need to now report it. You know, and because with Relearn before, if you're going to have 7 days plus off work, that's when you report, or when something really bad has happened. But this one was changing, like somebody catches COVID-19 while working for you, report it. You know, so I had to quickly update our accident procedure. I had to send out emails to communicate. I had to now do a video to explain, look at how to complete the incident report. You know, so I had to do all that and send. You know, and then we have an intranet. I spoke to IT, please help me upload this. You know, so there are ways that the truth is, if you think just a little, you'll be able to find a way around all these things. You know, so you can communicate by email, by doing videos, speaking to your communications teams. Sometimes things need to be visual. People will not read. So if something is too long, too bulky, I'm telling you, they will not read it. Or if it's visual, you have a short video, 3 to 5 minutes, people would be more inclined to watch, more inclined to look at your visual stuff, print it out, post it up. You know, I remember visiting one of my locations and I saw that the one-page guide I prepared for them for COVID-19, it was printed and posted up in their office, and I was like, oh, I was happy, you know, that they did that. That means they took it serious. You know, so you can find ways around the communication, and it's really visual, audio. Doesn't have to be a bulky document.
Absolutely. So what we're essentially saying is old ways of communicating has got to be out. We need to start looking at new ways. You know, traditional ways are no longer acceptable. New ways is what we need to start thinking of, particularly during lockdown. How did employers stay engaged or, you know, communicate with their employees? You know, so we heard, for those who joined our business continuity plan last week, the session last week, we learned about the communication tree where, you know, you from the CEO, for instance, you pick a few people within the next level to send information to the next level, just to see how many people actually pick up information so that there's no information being lost. Communication is a two-way thing. So you say something and it's received. Both the recipient and the sender are on the same page. So we need to ensure that during lockdown, for us during lockdown, I had to stay engaged with my staff, you know, constant regular meetings, WhatsApp groups, you know, so you have to try and use different ways. Originally, maybe WhatsApp groups are not the norm, but, you know, we had to create WhatsApp group, use WhatsApp group to communicate, easier, instantaneous means of communication. So we need to put away with old ways, but communication is absolutely key, okay? So now we're looking at post-lockdown, which is now our reality. It's now our reality and your reality too, quite rightly. So what can we do? How can things get better? We've heard about how, we've learned certain things in the past, and, we've had to unlearn certain things, which are the things that we had to unlearn during the COVID, the lockdown period. And now it's about relearning new things to make us much more efficient and effective in what we're doing. So we're going to be looking at what to do. Oops, went too fast. So what to relearn as us professionals. So firstly, we're talking to us professionals that they must be agile and resourceful. So we need to be on the spot, thinking on the spot, to be reactive and proactive, actually. So of course, one of the ways when I mean reactive can come across very bad, that, oh, why do you wait until something happens? But no, but it just means that equally you can also be able to think on the spot. You also have the mind to be creative. So as us professionals, we need to be resourceful. We need to have information that can aid us to adapt to our new, circumstances. This is a new terrain for us, new terrain for everybody, actually. I don't know what you think about that, us professionals being agile in these times that we're in.
It's very important, because the truth is we have so much around us. So it's very important for you to look around you. What do we have? How can I even use this in my work? I think people believe that safety has to be, I'm looking for the right word, has to be firm, has to be tough, has to look very scientific. It doesn't have to be. You can actually simplify things by using things around you. I don't know if you guys saw the ergonomics lecture, and I was really happy with that because it was really realistic. He wasn't telling us, go and get your ergonomic chairs. He was telling us how to use the things around us, how to create a safe
working space. We're doing that at the moment, actually.
And we are doing something like that, So it's really about looking at what you have around you, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Sometimes you would say you don't have the resources, you don't have the money. Yes, you might not have the money to get certain things, but the truth is everything we have around us, we can use. And we will show you an example very soon.
Absolutely. Yep. That's the second surprise, by the way. We did talk about surprises. So do wait, stay with us so you can hear what the next surprise is. That being said, the next one is health and safety, or everyone, particularly us professionals, we've got to be efficient. So efficiency is priority post-COVID. We can't keep on doing rims of paper, taking time out. How long is it going to take you to go to one department, go and risk assess there, go to another department, risk assess? So there has to be more efficient ways of actually conducting our practices, better ways of implementing policies, better ways of executing procedures and things like that, So I don't know, what do you think, IK, in terms of efficiency as a professional?
So I think I will go back to the use of paper, because that's one thing I hate a lot, like printing. Why are we printing? We can print certain things, but not some people just print everything, even when it's not necessary, And the truth is, if you see, using paper, being manual, it wastes your time. When I ever try to use a stack of paper to find things, I find that I'm there for hours, I've not done anything. But if I go on the computer, I click, within minutes, I'm done. So efficiency really comes with leaving your old ways aside and trying to tap into the new resources and the new technology and the things that we've got, around us, So it's very, very important. And for example, you do a risk assessment, you want maybe different people to sign. If you're using paper, 2 weeks later, you're still waiting for them to sign. But if you're using an online platform, they keep getting alerts, sign. I hate alerts. If you alert me once, twice, I will quickly sign. So you need to find ways to get people to take action immediately. But if you give them paper, they will think, okay, I need to print this thing, I need to sign it, I need to scan it, then I need to send it back. Some people think of all that stress and they don't. And some people don't know how to actually add their digital signature, because you can actually add a signature to a PDF document. It depends on the legalities around. But in the UK, you can sign an electronic document electronically. But I don't know about Nigeria. I remember trying to sign a contract in Nigeria and they wanted me physically. And I'm like, I live in the UK. I can't sign. Can you not take electronic? And they were like, no. We have to move away from that. If not, we will not move forward, really.
Absolutely. And that leads on very nicely. Although I'm going to jump a bullet point and move to embracing new ways of working. And the main ways of working as safety professional, we've got to digitize safety. We have to look at ways of being efficient. Means we definitely have to adopt new ways, and technology, artificial intelligence, the list goes on. These are the things that helps us to become more efficient in what we're doing. And of course, when we're talking about safety, is everyone's business. We mentioned that at the onset, actually, where it's not just the health and safety professional. We need to relearn and know that safety is everyone's responsibility. And I tapped into a webinar yesterday, actually, and I took one thing that stuck with me from that webinar was lead with questions and not orders. Okay. And so that stuck with me, where as we begin to relearn new things, implement new processes and practices, we need to be able to lead, you know, with questions. And that means carrying everybody along. We're all on the same page. It's consultative. Everybody feels involved because it's theirs as well. It's their safety just as much as it's us and my safety. Okay. So we need to imbibe the coaching approach. You know, what do you think?
Yes. So, you know, like with the coaching approach, I don't know if you've ever been coached, but with the coaching approach, it's really about asking questions, getting them to think for themselves, see things for themselves, not telling them you must, because the truth is with safety, that's why they call us police sometimes. You are like, do this, you must, and when you tell people that, even a small child would be like, they would react. You see that they will get defensive. So it's really about getting people to think for themselves, see implications of things, and really, really learn. Like one of the things that we do, I work with schools and children. And one of the things that I do is I get children to research topics themselves, bullying, fire safety, and they come back and they present. And when they do that, it sticks with them. They learn it better. It stays with them for a very long time, rather than me bombarding them. You know, so we don't want to be bombarded in the workplace. Nobody wants to be bombarded, but they want to work with you. So you need to be able to coach. You need to be able to coach your teams and coach people that work around you. And
be patient as well, knowing that, of course, not everybody understands your profession to start off with. And there's also always been a perception about our profession where, like IK said, we're police officers, you know, we're there to check people, to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So if we use the approach of what, why, and how, okay, so what exactly is it that needs to be done? Let people ask questions. So why do we need to do this? You know, and then it progresses to, okay, how do we do this? Now, when we use those methodologies, it helps people to embrace, you know, what ways of working we're trying to implement to become a culture, as opposed to, no, you can't do this. We're not allowed to do this. We have to do this. So let it be a what is it, a why is it, and a how is it, okay? And then, you know, introduce new ways. I don't know if we can see this. Oops, sorry. Introduce new ways of working through technology. So we're going to be speaking a lot about technology and talking about tools for the future of us in the workplace. We've talked about efficiency. So we're not here to just come and talk. We're here to give you practical skills, practical know-how. So after this webinar, you can literally go back and sit down and say, right, okay, so how can I start to implement all the things these ladies have talked about? So we're here there's so many tools actually that you can use to simplify your work, to make your work a lot more easier, particularly if you're an OSH professional, to make your job so much easier when you're digitalizing. It is something new you have to adapt to. It's something new that you have to learn. I read something on LinkedIn, funny enough, Yemi Fayehun is actually a HR guru, actually. And so somebody posted, he responded to somebody's post that talked about a lady who, a man actually, is a HR consultant who was actually trying to recruit, and he notified the candidate, I think 24 hours before, about the interview, and, you know, gave the Zoom information, but guess what? The candidate could not log on. You know, he had to send her notes on how to log on, how to dial in, and all of these things. Eventually, she dialed in, and he couldn't even hear her. And so Yemi Fayehun said, reschedule that meeting. So it's not going to be an easy thing. The reason why I've cited that is it's going to be new technology, using technology, especially when we haven't used that, or that hasn't been a culture in the past. It is something we have to imbibe, and something that will be new, and we will have teething issues with it. So, which brings us nicely, there's so many tools that you can use. One we put on the collaborative tool. Ike, do you want to talk a little bit about the collaborative tool that can be used? Okay, so our idea for this is really to use tools, to introduce tools that are not expensive, because we understand that some people might not have the budget for it. In all my experience, safety always has the least budget. You know, so we understand that the money might not be there to get the really, really fancy tools, but the truth, there are simple tools that you can use, and this is one of them here. The Google for Business, Google My Business. It's something that I use personally in safe schools, and I used in a previous job. So with Google, you know how you have your typical Gmail, where you have your slides, your drive, everything. So Google for Business actually has a platform like that. So for those that have maybe like corporate email addresses, for example, info@ctsglobe.com. You can use us because we use Google for Business.
Yeah, we use, you know, so we both use it. So you could use that, and it would be a Gmail. I wish I could show you a screenshot of my email, but I can't because of confidentiality, you know, but it would be like real Gmail, but it's actually your corporate email address, and you can collaborate with your teams. So one of the things that we do in safe schools is that For example, my staff writes a report or they want me to see something, they upload it to the drive. We have folders and those folders have permissions. So we know who goes into what folder, who is allowed to access what, who is allowed to view only, who is allowed to edit, you know, so we have those little permissions. And of course, because we are small, we're not going to use expensive tools and it's affordable, you know, so of course they will put that file in and they will just email me a link and say, look, and once they email me that, I click on it, I'm able to edit, add comments, and they are seeing it live as it happens. You know, so we could be collaborating. She could be in Nigeria, in Aja, and I'm in London here, and we'll be collaborating live on the same document. So I'll be making changes and I'll be saying, no, let's do this. And we do that with Google Slides. We do that with the Excel, that's the Google Sheets. It's called Google Sheet, but it's Excel. And even in a previous job, with Excel, we used Excel a lot. When I started that job, there was no safety. I was the very first safety manager. And of course, we had to create new systems. And other departments had their tools. They had really fancy tech tools that you click, and everything is on point. But we had nothing for safety. So we started with Excel. And what we did with Excel is, I don't know how the data lady did it. We had a data analyst. I don't know how she did it, but she synced my Excel sheet to one of the other departments, and everything that was happening on that was coming to my sheet. You know, so every 30 minutes, my sheet got automated, it got updated automatically. You know, it got populated with right information and things like that. So I knew I was never lacking information because that was there. You know, so something as small as Excel, something as small as Google Sheets is powerful. You know, it's really powerful for you to keep information updated, to collaborate with your teams and things like that. And that's what we, you know, like, for example, this presentation was done on Google Slides. You know, and
it's got, must I say, it's got fancy designs as well. Exactly. It's not the boring designs that you get on Microsoft package or whatever it is. These have wonderful designs that you can play around with. It has different templates that you can play around with. But I think most importantly with this collaborative tool is, as professionals or even non-professionals, as it were, you can deal with each other real time. You know, for especially when we're talking about you know, putting in new protocols, new processes, you know, doing risk assessment. You want to be doing things real time. You don't want to be waiting, because some of these things we need to get them approved by top management. So what a way to get, you know, all our documents, all our processes approved real time. And if they need to correct anything as well, it's real time. You know, I know that there are some other on Word document, you can actually make corrections or make notes, but then you save it and then still email it back. It's not very seamless. This is a very seamless tool you can use for more efficiency, or to be more efficient in the workplace. The other tools, like I said, there are so many types of tools, but of course time won't permit us to talk about the different types of tools. The other tools that may be useful, particularly for the OSH professionals, would be, it's a very technical one, it's called iAuditor. And so as we're talking about digitalizing a lot of things, you know, for us as consultants as well, when we need to go and audit sites, we need to write reports, this software actually can allow you to create templates. You know, it allows you to create templates, and it's so good, so much so that it sometimes also helps you with providing solutions as well. It gives advice on what are the best practices for solutions as well. So it's so efficient. You can go on a site now, and then you don't have to go and sit at home again to sit down writing reports upon reports. It does that for you. So in less than 30 minutes, your report is done. You know, and you can also send that, share it with your clients as well, share it with your team as well. So this is one of the many tools that we use. And I hope you guys are writing down stuff. However, we can't give everything out on this session, you know. So what we've decided to do is that we are looking at putting together, we would have called it free, but we know a lot of people don't value free things, you know. And I think it's, you know, my spiritual leader that said, something you don't, you know, pay for, you don't value. So what we've decided to do, as obviously part of giving back as well, is for you to join a 60-minute group coaching session on using tools. These ones and many more, just for a small fee, only because we want to see some sort of commitment for you from the people who are interested. And so if you're in the UK, it's £10. If you're abroad, it's $10. You don't, it's just, we would have called it free, sincerely, because we want to give back, but people may not appreciate it. You know, their attitude towards it will be totally different, but just a little token so that we see how serious you are, because this is an hour of our time that we want to dedicate to you. We could be busy doing other things, but we want to give that 1 hour to you guys to help you guys to look at that. So these are ways we will send the presentation out in an email, and so you can access how to join the 60 minutes group. And we'll also put in there the dates that this will be coming up as well, and so that way you can make use of the information. Yeah, So this is our information. It's the wrong Gmail, is it? Okay, so we will address that. I think we want to take Q&A. Let's see. Oh, did I click the wrong one? Okay, I'm going to stop share. Let's go back to Zoom. And right, let's see.
Where are we now?
Just bear with us. This is the technicality. Okay, stop share.
Okay.
Great stuff. Okay, stop share. And so what we want to do, what were we going to do? Q&A. Okay, we only have one question.
Let's look at the chats first.
Okay, oh wow, there's lots of, wow, okay. Please, what is the full meaning of abbreviation OSH? Okay, that's Occupational Safety and Health. And that could be professional, occupational safety and health courses, but that's what it means, OSH. Okay, so we'll go to the comment box. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to close this down. This is Q&A. So we'll open up the comment. Oh, right here. So I'm going to leave this to IK to help us with this.
Okay. How do we do this now?
So we'll just scroll up. So why are we not social distancing? I think we've already answered that. So if you just do, yes, pre-COVID, virtual safety training is not appreciated as much. Okay, that's true. Yeah. That's true. But we also offer that. And I think that's the new way of working, to be honest. If you really want to get things done, it's so difficult, even after when we've taken so much time off work and then go back to work, and you think employers are going to start giving you time off again to go for training and what have you. So if you can, appreciate e-learning or virtual classroom, please join us. There are so many other organizations who offer, particularly health and safety organizations, who offer virtual classes as well that you may find very helpful. Let's see, someone has said, these are issues of the 45,001, participation and consultation. Yeah, PPE regulations 2019, violations, error and mistakes, legal requirements, HSC reader, okay. Yeah, so John Flynn, if most governments got it so wrong, then we can really blame the companies. We can't really blame the companies or even the HSC officers. Absolutely.
That's very true, because I remember when COVID started and at work, they were always calling me and I had to tell them, come look, even the government is confused. Even WHO is telling you they are still learning what this virus is. Exactly. So I don't know it. Exactly. Because they expect that we know everything. So I really like this comment,
Absolutely. Then we've got one that says, post-COVID-19 outbreak, we never considered infectious disease as part of risk assessment. Absolutely. So this is one. Well, actually, no, there are, because there are different types of infectious diseases. Yeah. We've got tuberculosis, which is an infectious disease. Yeah. We've got quite HIV is an infectious disease.
We did consider, because I work in the hospitality sector, and one of the things you probably come across is syringes in the hotel rooms. Absolutely. So we do have that, even in our health and safety policy, in our risk assessments, we do have that. And then, of course, we have the emergency cleaning kits and things like that. So it depends on the nature of the work and the risk assessments. When you do a risk assessment, you find out all the hazards and all the things that you'll probably be exposed to, so it depends on the sector, but some did consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. But maybe not, obviously, because this is a novel type of virus to start off with.
Not this kind,
maybe not this to this
Nobody thought of virus and pandemic, of course.
Exactly. And I think that was what John covered, in last week's session about preparing for a pandemic, basically, because there will be another one. There's been, John said he's actually gone through 4 in his lifetime, and he's only 64, so you can imagine. So maybe in the next 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, there might be another one. So how do we ensure that we are prepared, better prepared for that? So of course, our risk assessment moving forward now needs to start considering, pandemics, actually, because I think we look at, explosions, we look at all sorts of natural disasters,
terrorist attacks.
Exactly, but they're maybe not this. So okay, we've got another contribution from Ugochi. During the lockdown, more people were willing to receive training online and engage in online activities. Absolutely. To be honest, this thing is a two-edged sword, funny enough. I think, yes, a lot of people were willing as well, but some maybe didn't have the capacity to also, especially the paid ones, some were not able to enroll on it, but it was good. We did have people who felt it's a window for them to upskill themselves. It's a window for them to expand their knowledge. And of course, gain certifications that makes you more marketable, particularly if you're one that has lost your job during that period as well. So yeah, that's absolutely, correct. We have also, business continuity plan was just a quick fix It's documented with no in-depth details pre-COVID, just like what we said. So there is that John's course that we touched on last week. So for those who are interested, please just send an email. It's quite thorough, how to prepare how to business continuity in a pandemic, and of course takes into consideration any further pandemic. So less attention was given to mental health issues pre-lockdown. Absolutely.
I would think it depends on the location, because in the UK here, mental health has been a big deal for over a year, and you have a lot of mental health first aiders. I'm actually one. After I received the training, I loved it. I now went ahead to do the training to become an instructor. So it's a big deal. Workplaces want it. Maybe they do it for, let's just tick this box, but it's a big deal here. So it depends on the location. Somewhere like in Nigeria, it was never considered. It's probably not still considered yet. And that's because of stigma, discrimination. What will people say?
Culture.
What will people say? And what people say is people are bothered. I'm bothered about what people will say, so.
Well, we've got another one here that says, please, how do I join the training on the use of the technical tools you mentioned? We will send information out, David.
Send an email.
You will get that. There's another one from Peace that says, how we survive in OSH, especially when jobs here in Nigeria is not easy to come by. Or I guess she's trying to say, how can we survive in OSH, especially when jobs here in Nigeria is not easy to come by? I think we already touched that at one of our sessions in the past week, but just to bring it back as well, it's about you not justifying your job, but letting your organization see your worth. And some of the ways you can actually let your organization see your worth is you coming up with new strategies, new approaches to doing things, saving them costs as well. So those are the things where you got to not just do things as you were doing before, because now every business is trying to, do a cost saving exercise. And why should your job not be, why should your job not be affected? So you need to demonstrate, that you're adding value to the organization, that if they dismiss you, it's actually a loss on their part. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, that is it. You've got to stay relevant. You've got to make them want you. They've got to miss you. Like for me, they missed me. Oh, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? You've got to be relevant. And sometimes you don't have to wait to be told to do stuff. We know what's going on. You're an OSH professional. The truth is, keeping the workplace safe, even from COVID-19, is your responsibility, as an OSH professional. So you have to just, okay, how do I do this? Okay, we have to do a risk assessment. Okay, we have to come up with some guidance. We have to explain to people how they can be kept safe at work. And you go ahead and you do it. Don't wait for the boss to tell you. If the boss tells you, he will not be happy. But if you go ahead and you do it before you are told, woo! It'll be like, man, she's hot.
You know, one thing that has been very popular in the comment section and also in the Q&A is this for social distancing. But I like the fact that the person here said, you are not maintaining physical/social distance during this session. Are you sure you are not exposing yourselves? I guess you both know your COVID status. We do know our COVID status. And of course, as OSH professionals, we will not be exposing ourselves otherwise, So we do practice what we preach.
And we wanted to surprise you.
Absolutely.
Be surprised.
Yeah. Were you guys not tired of just seeing Ike on one screen and seeing myself on another screen, and we thought, you know what, let's do it differently. Maybe we can try and squeeze. I'm going to try and give a bit of inch space as well. But thank you very much. So let's look at, I agree with the efficiency. There are too many cumbersome processes, procedures, and record keeping that can actually be simplified with technology. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Fatima. Thank you very much for that contribution. John Flynn says, if you have a team of people, they can use electronic notepads to allow dissemination and collation of information. Works well if several people are in the field. Exactly. So this is again for the field guys. If you can have a centralized notepad that links to one another, I guess this is what John's talking about. It would be very beneficial as well. So we can scan our signatures here in Nigeria and send. Okay, so
praise God.
Thank God for the evolution. Well, is it the COVID that ignited that? That's Bolanle Edwards. Thank you, Bolanle Edwards, for your contribution. We've got from Israel Kennedy. Technology has evolved that apps can be used in reporting unsafe acts and unsafe conditions and to do risk assessment. Absolutely. And this is one of the tools that we've actually shared on today. And there are so many more as well. We should imbibe the culture of working from home. And it is crucial we have a policy on that so that we can ensure business continuity, even under pandemic situation. Anthony Okoye, absolutely, that is correct. Because one of the things we are doing as an organization, I felt bad actually, because when I spoke to a colleague of mine who said their staff actually are in the office twice a week and mine are in 4 days a week. So I was like, okay, you know what, no, we need to revisit that. And that's why it's good to talk sometimes. So we're going back to our policies and changing that to say, for now, you guys need to work 2-3 days a week from the office, but then the other days will be from home. But we also need to put infrastructure in place to ensure that the business doesn't suffer in that period. You know, particularly with one of the main challenge in Nigeria primarily is also the infrastructure for technology. I mean, what's it called now? Internet.
Oh my God.
Yes, internet is a nightmare. So how do you ensure business continuity with such a poor state or poor infrastructure, you know, in Nigeria? So one of the things again is, you know, buying data. We've had to start investing in buying data for our workforce, our team, you know, on their mobile phones so they can hotspot. You know, even if they don't have, and even with that, you find that in Nigeria, there's about 2, 3, 4 phones people have to use because there's still that network instability that they still have to deal with, you know. But yeah, you're right. There has to be that culture, but there also has to be a balance because the adequate infrastructure is not in place yet. Yeah, we're not there yet. Very informative presentation so far. Well done for me and IK. Thank you very much, JK. We have another one from Israel Kennedy. Both sheets were linked with that. Once you have an update in the sheet A, it updates automatically in sheet B. Excel is amazing to use. Yeah. And a lot of people, sadly, you know, pre-COVID, a lot of people were very analog, you know, and not even on, and to be honest, spreadsheet is not even digital. It's not. But a lot of people were not exposed to or pushing themselves to learn how to use other softwares, other applications. Now we are forced to come out of our comfort zone. We need to learn those things. So to answer the question in the how do we survive, you need to be aided with the right skill set to ensure you stay relevant as well. They go at par with one another. We've also got another comment here from Jane C that says, I'm glad to be part of your webinar after so many tries. Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, we normally have people join us a lot more than this, but we had some technical issue on the back end of Zoom today. So we really apologize, but thank you for joining us nonetheless. What is it? Good job. What name's that?
Say good. That's a Unwine Ezechinyere Joseph. I have to use the Igbo accent, you know, to make it nice. She says, good job, Ike and Fumi. Love you guys. Advice to use your medium to reach EHS professionals from Nigeria, both home and abroad, to form formidable force back home. Well, thank you. That's a very wonderful advice.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to do with this platform. We're trying to share, you know, based on our experiences, and really just bring in guests. So from time to time, we bring guest speakers in so that they can share from their experiences also, because we don't know everything, to be honest.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it says to reach out to EHS professionals. There is something we're cooking. There's something cooking. And we'll unveil soon. We will unveil very soon.
Something is seriously cooking.
Thank you. So we have another question in the Q&A from Tunji Ladi Bolu that says, how much of physical or social interaction gaps occasioned by COVID-19 would affect mankind as social beings?
It's a very tough one because people can't really cope. We need people. For me, I'm someone that can stay at home all day, every day. But I'm telling you, I missed people. During lockdown in Lagos, I missed human beings. And I was like, I shouldn't be missing people, but I did. And I really wanted to gather with people. I really wanted to see people. And that is not me. I'm not a people, you know. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to really affect. And it hurts me when I see pictures of schools and I see the distance between the children. I wonder how the children cope. Maybe for adults, we might be able to, let's manage. But with children, I really feel for them because that is not normal and that's not usual for them. They like to play. They like to be around their friends. So it's going to affect. That's just the truth. And
I think primarily affects as well psychologically as well, because someone that you're used to hugging, I mean, I'm not going to hug before they talk about social distancing, but someone you're used to hugging, you know, particularly children, like Ike has said, they're used to hugging each other, touching each other's faces, you know, playing in the playground, and all of a sudden they've got boxes that they've got to, you know, stay in, they can't go outside. It is going to have huge impacts, but I hope this is why we really should all continue to hope and pray for a solution to come very soon, sooner rather than later, so that we can go back to what was maybe normal before, you know, COVID. But thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Nice to see the faces behind the names for me and Professor IK. Thank you, Jane C. Thanks, ladies, for sharing knowledge. My sisters, you share more, you get more, and not less. God bless you and protect us from COVID. Engineer Tuka Lawal. Thank you very much, Engineer Tuka. We've got Chinwe at a very good presentation and happy to see you two together. Thank you. At least someone's excited about seeing us together.
Yep.
I always look forward to your meetings, really informative and educative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. John Flynn, our very ever-present attendee.
John is so supportive. He's always here. He's a darling.
Yes, absolutely. He says lockdown also destroys mental health and the fabric of society itself. Absolutely, just what I've just said as well. You know, in Spain, children were not even allowed outdoors for a month. Even the politicians with kids were going mental. So yes, we've already identified that it does have not just a physical or social impact, it does have the psychosocial impact as well on people as well. So, I mean, it's been an amazing time with you guys again this week. Like I always say, we like to finish bang on time. It's 3:54. We've got 6 more minutes to go. Q&A, let's see. Okay, that's fine. But it was an amazing time. And like we said, we will send out the slides, definitely, and the link to join in our 60 minutes, a 60 minutes, session to learn how to use new tools to be efficient in these times that we're in. That was KSS 101 or Health and Safety 101 from IK and myself, and we've had fun seeing you guys again this week. We will be back next week. Next week is going to be interesting. We've got somebody who's going to be talking to us on construction, who is talking about the challenges in construction, particularly as a female as well in construction. So we look forward to having her next week. So please do join us. Next week is going to be informative. It's going to be exciting and educative as well. IK, over to you.
Okay, well, so I think that's it for today. No more questions or comments, but thank you so much. And we hope that you've really, really learned from this, because the truth is, as safety professionals, we have to be really, really thinking outside the box. We have to put our textbooks aside, because I see a lot of people do textbooks. I don't do textbooks. I'm very practical. I'm very realistic. What is on ground and how can we solve this? Not because my textbook cannot tell me everything that's going to happen. I think the textbooks didn't prepare us for a pandemic, but the truth is we have to just think, we have to just ask questions, and it's very, very important for you to collaborate with other safety professionals. I have a few safety professionals. She's one of them. I have another friend that when I do something and I'm not very sure, I contact them and I send them like, oh, what do you think about this? Or what do you think? You know, because the truth is we don't know everything and we're not perfect beings. So we need to have that, or we need to lay that aside. And one thing I always say is that asking questions does not mean that you're stupid. Asking questions or asking for people's opinion does not mean that you don't know what you're doing. It's actually even better. Because one thing I hate the most is when my staff sends me a report and I see that it makes no sense. And I'm thinking, what is this? You know, so it's really good that when you do something, you are proud of your work and your boss sees your work and it's like, woo, he's not asking questions. So anything you do, you need to make sure that whatever questions will come out from there, you've already answered it. You know, so they look and they're thinking, wow, I have no questions, you know, so that is really my final.
So doing away with the old and getting with the program.
Get rid of that textbook, man.
I think we've got another, comment here. Well done for me and Ike from Hassan. Hassan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hassan. He's always here.
Hassan, he's amazing.
He's always here.
We've got John again. He says, and yet the kids are one of the least vulnerable groups, but that's another example of panic. So we heard last week, panicdemic, not pandemic, and the stupid question is one you do not ask. But it's been an amazing time with everyone, and we look forward to having you guys with us next week. From Ike and I, stay safe, stay blessed, and see you next time.
All right, thank you guys. Bye-bye.